I was a senior going to a pretty well-respected community college near my hometown. One of my classes was an intensive public speaking course with a professor that I adored. At the start of the semester in this class, nothing was out of the ordinary. This was my last class of the day, so I would often have up to an hour to kill beforehand, and would always look for a quiet, comfy nook to either study, work on assignments, or watch YouTube. One day I was working on a paper in a nook near my public speaking class when I noticed this guy. I've seen him before, and I'm pretty sure he's in my class. He was standing at the entrance to the little lobby, just staring at me. I just ignored it because I was busy. He walked over and stood above me, staring until I acknowledged him. He proceeded to take a seat near me and started asking me really mundane questions about the weather and our class. I humored him, but eventually said I was going to work on my paper and would like to be left alone. He just went silent and sat, watching me until it was time for our class. He walked with me despite me not making eye contact or engaging with him in any way. Our classroom was set up in a way where each row has one solid desk on a big step, each one higher than the one in front, kind of like stairs. This guy sat below me, so when I noticed he had turned around in his seat to just stare at me, a lot of other people did too. It was very obvious. I chose to ignore this behavior at first, but I started to notice him everywhere. The campus wasn't huge, but it certainly had enough tiny study spaces and nooks that a person could easily hide away from others. That was the whole point of study nooks. Still, he would always be around, no matter where I went, just watching me. The incident that first made me report him was, on a presentation day for our class, he found me in a computer lab where I sat with a couple of friends but was unfortunately not sitting between any of them. So this guy, who we'll call Noah from now on, walked up next to me, making sure his crotch was close to my face, and asked if I'm ready to give my speech. I said yes, and I'm trying to work on last-minute changes to the outline. He then pulled a leather belt out of his backpack, scooting a tad closer to me, started putting his belt on, saying, "Look, I got a new belt for the speech." When I just nodded and went back to working on my outline, he said, "Watch this," and he scooted so close to my ear, his pants brushed against my face when I turned my head. At this point, I was mortified, and instinctively scooted my chair in a way which made my friends look over at what was going on. One of them asked me what was up. I told them nothing. Noah eventually walked away after getting his belt on, and then I told everyone what happened. My friend Nicole told me to report him after I explained his other behavior. After class that day, I did. I went to the student advocate and told her everything that happened, that I was uncomfortable, and asked what I can do. And to this day, I'll never forget what she told me. She said, "You know, I think he may be on the spectrum or just socially awkward. Have you tried getting to know him?" I was appalled. I told her I didn't want to get to know him, and that I shouldn't have to befriend people who make me feel uncomfortable. She said she would take what I said into consideration and only come back if he actually did something worth reporting, since sticking your junk in someone's face is apparently not any form of harassment. So Noah kept following me, appearing wherever I was. Sometimes he would try to talk to me. Sometimes he would just watch me. He followed me through the parking lot to my car one time. He stared at me in class. He tried talking to people he knew were my friends to try to get involved in conversations with me when they were hanging out with me. After class one day, I decided to go to McDonald's near campus to grab dinner on my way home. I decided to go inside because drive-thrus just weren't my thing. As I was waiting for my food, the girl who took my order came up to the counter and called me over. She asked, "Do you know that guy?" I turned to my right and Noah pulled his car up next to the glass wall, where the drive-thru line was supposed to be. Except, There were no cars in front of him, and he's 50 feet behind the menu and speaker, just staring at me. As soon as I made eye contact with him, he backed his car up and began pulling into the parking space to the left of my car. My stomach dropped. Now he had followed me off of campus. My face must have went pale because the girl looked concerned. And I told her exactly what was happening. That Noah was stalking me on campus, and now he was here. This girl, honestly my hero, said, "Okay, I'm gonna rush your order. If you feel unsafe and he starts heading in here, I will hide you in the back and call the police." Just as she got my food to the counter, Noah got out of his car and started walking towards the entrance. I told the girl that I was just gonna put my head down, rush past him, get in my car, and get out of here. She told me to be safe. I walked with purpose out of McDonald's, walked straight past Noah. He started trying to talk to me and follow me to my car, so I ran, got in, locked the doors, and pulled out. I looked in my mirrors the entire way home, scanning, terrified I'd see his car behind me. Luckily, he didn't follow me home. The next day, I told my friend Nicole what happened, and that I wasn't sure if I could report it because of what the student advocate had said last time. When I told Nicole this, she was angry and said she would go with me to report this time. We sat down and I told the student advocate everything that had happened since the last time I reported. Her response was that I was overreacting and that she would document my report, but wouldn't grant me a campus restraining order against him. She left me with, "If he actually does something to you, touches you, hurts you, then we can investigate and get the police involved for a restraining order." At this point, Nicole and I were angry, and I felt so defeated. We went to talk to our mutual friend, Amanda, about it and found out he was being creepy to her as well, to the point he had followed her to her car and wouldn't let her leave until she talked to him. I guess when he wasn't following me around, he was following her. She said she hadn't reported it because she didn't think anyone would take her seriously. She also said another friend of hers was stalked by him for a few months the previous semester, to the point that her friend had dropped the class that they had together to throw off his knowledge of her schedule because the student advocate wouldn't help her either. The next day, all three of us, Nicole, Amanda, and I, went to the student advocate to show he was doing this to more than one person, and he had actually kept Amanda from leaving. The student advocate finally decided to start an investigation. Fortunately, all of us were graduating soon, and by that point, and never saw the outcome of the investigation. I just started my freshman year of college. I'm going to a college out of my home state, and no one I know is going to the same university as me, which means I'm rooming with a total stranger. It's normal, but that's what I thought. When I met my roommate, who I will be referring to as DJ from now on, seemed nice enough. Her parents seemed nice as well. Everything was going fine for this first couple of weeks. But then, DJ's odd habits began emerging. I noticed that every time I would sit at my desk, she would move from wherever she was to sit on the floor right behind me. Every single time. The first few times I thought it was just coincidental, because it happened when she was just entering the room from her last classes. I thought maybe she just wanted to relax by sitting on the floor. But no. Then the other scenarios began happening. She has a beanbag sat right next to me, so close that it's touching my chair. And this is her favorite spot. She always tries to sit there and do homework and whatnot, which is fine. But if I decide I want to sit at my desk, she will actually move from the beanbag to the floor right behind me. Sometimes she doesn't even do anything, she just sits there. She abandons her homework to sit behind me. I don't sit at my desk too often anymore, for this exact reason. DJ has a job that she has to get to by 8 a.m. every weekday, which means I typically get woken up early, which is fine. I usually just roll over and try to get some extra sleep. A few times now, though, I have woken up to DJ just staring at me. One time she was a foot away from my bed, just staring. She also makes a point to look at me when she leaves. But it doesn't end there. I am utterly disgusted by hair, right? Well, I guess you know now. It actually makes me sick to my stomach to see hair all over the floor. DJ has this long curly red hair, which is fine. And she sheds so much, and I have seen her sit there and pull out her hair. One day, I decided I wanted to wash my sheets. I don't even sleep with my sheets. I'll either sleep with only a throw blanket or only my comforter. I never ever go under my sheets, but I lay on top of them, so they still deserve to be washed. When I pulled back the sheet, I was met with strings of DJ's long curly hair. I almost threw up. I have no clue how it got there, and I'm not sure I want to know. It gets even creepier. On Tuesdays and Thursdays, DJ and I share the same last class together. When class ends, she sits there and waits for me to pack up my notebooks and things, and then we walk back to our dorm room together. And here's the strange part, she never tries to talk to me. She just walks like 2 feet behind me. By itself, that maybe seems a little bit normal, but with everything else that's been going on, it just sort of feels like she's watching me. Perhaps this isn't the creepiest story out there, but it's definitely a little unnerving to me.